Hi there. In this video, I'm going to go through some SketchUp techniques that I think would help people who are new to SketchUp design more effectively using SketchUp. In this case, design architecture using SketchUp more effectively. This is not about how to do good architecture, it's how to use SketchUp effectively to produce architecture. So let's start with this SketchUp model. I think it's useful to leave the person in the model because it provides some sense of scale, which is very useful. So one of the things that you first want to do when you're building is establish context. There are a couple of ways you could do this. One is to, on a piece of paper, a site plan, a map. You could do this at a number of different scales. You could get an image of that on a scanner and import it into SketchUp and just place it, at flat on the ground here, and then draw over it. That's actually very easy to do, and you can even once that image is within SketchUp, you can scale it so that its dimensions are accurate within SketchUp. So if you have a wall that is say 40 feet long on that image, you can scale that image so that 40 feet represents 40 feet in SketchUp. Very useful. SketchUp also provides the ability to pull in imagery from Google Earth. So you just go to File, Geolocation, Add Location, enter a location. If you have the street, it'll go right to that. If you just have a town or something, you can enter that and then navigate using these tools in the hand to get to exactly where the site is that you're working from. Once you have that site, click Select Region. Again, you're given another opportunity to make some fine-tuning, fine adjustments, then click on Grab. And that location will come into SketchUp, appropriately scaled and appropriately aligned in terms of north-south. So this is my house, this house right here. I meant to grab both neighbors' houses so I could quickly model them up, but I didn't. But still, you get a sense of sort of the scale of my house. It's about 1,800 square feet by this person. All right, so once this is in SketchUp, it actually imports 2 layers. So if I go to the Layers panel, you'll see that there's the default layer 0, which is in every SketchUp model by default. That's visible. There's the Google Earth Snaps layer, which is what I'm looking at, which is basically just an image of this area with no indication of topography. And there's also, if I hide that, I can turn on the terrain layer, which actually shows you topography of the area that you're working on. So as you can see, my property slopes off dramatically in this direction. And in fact, this deck is about 15 feet above, this end of the deck is about 15 to 20 feet above the ground below. So that terrain can come into play early or later because you can always adjust where your model is on the terrain. So I'm going to turn it off for now and just turn on the image of my site. All right. Now, one thing you might want to do at this point is a quick massing model. All right, so very quick. Oops. Now you notice that SketchUp forces, when you use the rectangle tool, it forces the rectangle into the cardinal directions. But that's not a problem because you can always rotate it. So I'm just going to do that. Then pull that up. Let's see, I have a 2-story house, so I'll go up 8 feet for each floor, and then a foot for the first floor, a foot for the second floor. So go up 18 feet. And I can, once I've done this, I'm going to immediately group it. So what I do is I triple click it, and on a Mac I just do Command G. I think it's Control G on a Windows machine. What that means is that geometry is now isolated from other geometry that I have already created or will create in the future. And I can always ungroup things, but this prevents geometry from sticking together when I don't want it to stick together, which happens a lot if you don't group things. So, but I said it didn't particularly matter about the orientation because you can always move it. So what I did here is, using a keyboard shortcut, I turned on the rotate tool. I'm just sliding that over. Here's a trick. Once you have the rotate tool in a dimension that you want, in this case, I want to rotate along around the blue axis, I just hold the shift key down and it locks it into that orientation. So now I can just click on one corner and rotate that so it's roughly in line with the orientation of my house. Then I can click on the move tool and move it over. And opening it up, I can then use push-pull to adjust as needed, or I can use the scale tool and adjust as needed. Probably better to do that in this case because I can see what's underneath. So that's, we'll call that close enough, right? And I could come out this way a little bit. And and if I wanted to, I could take this, hold down use the move tool, hold down the option key, so the little plus sign there next to the move tool icon means I'll make a copy of this. I can pull this over just to place it over here to get a sense of where the neighbor's house is on that side. And I have another neighbor over roughly about here. Right? And I'm just doing this so that I have some sense of the site and the relationship of my building to these other buildings. Okay. Now, these massing models are something I may want to come back to, but right now I don't want to have to deal with them. I want to sort of get them out of the way. So what I'm going to do is use the layers tool, and I'm going to add a layer. We'll call it massing model. And what we're going to do is move these 3 pieces of geometry. I'm holding down the shift key to do multiple selection. And I'm going to, I right-clicked on this one to get the entity info dialog box. And I'm going to say to SketchUp, I want all of those to go into the massing model layer. Okay, I can close that. And now, if I hide the massing model layer, those rough massing images of the houses will go away. Now, if you have more information that you want to model about in this rough massing model, you could do that. If you have some information about how the roof is aligned, you can put that in, right? I'm not saying that this is how these roofs are aligned. I'm just saying if you had that information, you could quickly add some information about that, right? And again, hide them, show them very easily, okay? Now, what I'm going to do here is, since I have, here's a good trick. Since I have the this rough outline of my building, I'm going to hide the Google Earth layer there. I can take that, because I'm going to work on the floor plan now, so that's calling that the outline of my building. I can copy that, close that, then I can hide the massing models and then do edit, paste in place. Paste in place model is a really command. It's really useful because it will paste the geometry exactly wherever it is that you copied or cut it from. So I know that this is now directly under that massing model for my house. Okay, so I'm going to say that this is my floor plan, and again I am going to immediately group it so that it doesn't, down the road, it doesn't interact unpleasantly with other geometry I create. So I just do Command G on a Mac, and that is now grouped. Excellent. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to approach this. One would be to just work out your floor plan, you know, sort of just make it up as you go along. Another would be to have previously, as I discussed, created a floor plan on paper. You could actually bring that, import that into SketchUp, scan it, import it into SketchUp, lay it over this, and then draw right on top of it. So, but I'm going to just quickly, using the pencil tool, just make a very simple breakdown here. So we'll do a, let's say, draw a line there, right? And this is a living room, and this is a dining room, and this is going to be the kitchen, and this will be the bathroom. Okay, so cool. I've got a very simple floor plan. Now, if you want to, at this point, you might want to start actually modeling up a 3D representation of this. And here, what some people will do is they'll draw, like, they'll do something like this. I'm actually not going to, I'll do it, no, they'll do it directly on the floor plan, like this. So they'll draw, you know, a wall, and then they'll push that wall up, and so on. They'll just continue drawing walls. I actually don't recommend that approach. Some people may want to do it that way, and you can certainly make it work. But let me just show you another approach to doing this. So what if you did this? So now here's that thing where SketchUp wants to make the rectangle along the lines, along the cardinal lines. So that's okay, we'll go with that right now. Now, the cool thing is, because I'm working, this floor plan is in a group, I'm working outside the group, so this rectangle I've made actually isn't going to directly attach to any of the geometry that I've created inside that group. So I've made this wall. Most walls, interior walls, we'll say, are 4.5 inches inches wide, and they can be all kinds of lengths. So I'm just going to go with 10 feet for this first one, and then we can use it to modify others. So I'm going to pull this wall up. I'll pull it up 8 feet. Okay. And remember, what's the rule? As soon as you create a significant piece of geometry, group it. So I triple click and group it. Cool. Now, what I can do now, I need to get it aligned up to this wall. So I use the rotate tool, go right to that corner, again holding the shift key to keep it locked so that it rotates around the blue axis, and click somewhere along this line and just pull over so that I'm right on that line. Okay? And it sort of clicked into place. I don't know whether you could see that, but now that is right on that line. Now I can, if I want to make that wall bigger, I can just double click on it to open it. And although it doesn't, the geometry won't stick to, the geometry of this wall won't stick to the geometry in the floor plan layer, SketchUp does know about that geometry and can identify when you're aligning with lines in that group layer. So that wall is exactly right. Now what I could do is click out of that, and I could take this and move a copy down. Again, hold down the Option key and just move a copy right down to that wall. And again, that kind of clicked into place. Move that. So now I've got two walls. I need to do some more over here. Actually, I need to do the outside walls too, which let's just stick to these. I'm going to hold off on doing what I just did because the outside walls are a little different from the interior walls. So I'm going to actually move this one over to be this interior wall. So easy enough. I'm just going to drag that to right there. Great. And I have a second, this is going to be a hallway here. So I actually need to make this wall shorter. Again, real easy to do. And I'm moving between the tools quickly and fluidly without moving over to the toolbar, which is off the screen over here, because I have keyboard shortcuts established for the major tools that I use a lot. And I memorized those so I can quickly do that. There we go. So that wall's right now, and now I'm going to copy that over to there. All right, so there I've got my bathroom walls. Now I need some walls that are in 90 degrees to these, so that's easy enough. I can do this in a couple of ways. Just to be clear, I'll pull one off first. So again, move tool with copy on, come over here. Now I'll do the turn tool, and I'm just going to turn and click anywhere for the first click, and then I'm going to go 90 degrees. And you'll notice if you look down in this box, you're getting information. It actually said 90 degrees there, but if you don't want to, just sort of manually set it to 90, as soon as you start the turn, you can come down, click in here, and type 90, and it will rotate whatever you're rotating exactly 90 degrees. Okay. So now I can pull this out to there. I've got at least a start on my interior walls, right? There's some, I don't have, you wouldn't have this huge entrance into the bathroom, but that's, again, easy to take some of the existing geometry and modify it. So I can take this wall, copy it over here. You should be getting the hang of this now. And I can open it up and just push it to where I want it to be. So about there. Again, because it's so easy to adjust later, you can get it perfect the first time, or you can go back later. And so what I mean is, if I want that door to be a certain size, I can either measure it out later. And I'll show you how to do that. So say I want that door opening to be a certain distance from this wall. Use the measuring tool, come off from the wall. Actually, there's a better way to do it. If I come off from the wall here, I get this line. So say I want it to be 2 feet 6 inches off. So I let go, come down here, enter 2 feet 6 inches, and that's exactly how the distance from that wall to that line. And I can come in, click on that, and pull it right out to that line. Okay. So I'll clean up, because you normally want to clean up as you move along. And I could do the same thing with the other wall. Now, this is my dining room, I think I said. So I've got to put that wall back. I should have copied this wall instead of moving it. So when I came over to make the bathroom wall. So I'm just going to come back and do that. And I'll say, come back to, actually, what I'm going to do, just because I kind of like this idea better, I'll say the entryway to the kitchen, between the kitchen and the dining room, is down here, some sort of opening across here. And we would probably want some opening between the living room and the dining room. So again, a little bit of practice here. All right, so we'll do that. And then we'll just copy this, holding down the Option key over, and I'm going to work from, to get it going, I'm going to work from there. Sort of pull from the corner that you want to anchor to a point. So if you know that you're going to this line, then copy from the edge, that corner that's closest to the place you're going to move to. So great, now I've got my interior walls of my house. And those are, as you've seen, it's really easy to adjust those. Okay, so I'm going to do my exterior walls quickly. And I'll start with just copying, oops, and see, I will start with copying this, one of my interior walls. Now, I'm going to do a super insulated house, so my exterior walls are going to be 1 foot thick with dense packed cellulose. I know this wall is 4.5 inches thick because that's what I made it. So what I'm going to do is add 7.5 inches to that. And so what I'm going to do is pull out, and here I will come down here immediately and do 7.5 inches. And that should be a 1 foot wall, and I can quickly see that by just retracing along that edge, and it is exactly 1 foot. Cool. So now I can do what I did with my interior walls using this new wall assembly. Why don't I pull this down the whole length of this side to right there. Again, notice I'm paying attention to the hints that SketchUp provides. So pulling from that corner, Option, right over to here. And this, you know, things like this can be easily adjusted. If you want things to look better, you can go into that interior wall. And if you do a bit of planning, you can save yourself that effort by doing things like this. So we could have set the exterior wall thickness ahead of time so that when we did those interior walls, we only went to the interior side of those exterior walls instead of all the way to the edge of the house. And we could have done this with the pointer tool and just come in 1 foot. right? And we could have done that on all the sides, and when we did, for instance, say we extended this wall, we would go to that line instead of to the outer line. Okay. So we need now these two walls. So we can just take this one. Here's another way. You can use copy when you're rotating. So if I press down the Option key, I get the little plus sign there. And now I can rotate a copy of that. Cool. And I can then move that to right there. And open up the group, push it into right there, and you know what's next, right? I just pull that with the Option key down to, I should have pulled from the other side. Could have saved me a step here. I can just go fix that now. I go right to that point. Make sure you get these things lining up exactly. It will make for a nice clean model, and it'll make your life easier. So there I've got a floor plan done that's extremely easy to modify, should I need to modify it. Okay. Now I think it's a good idea, once you have a floor layout like this done, to group it so that it hangs together as one unit. I don't want to, well, yeah, I can do that. So that, I'll do that. That's good. So now that's all grouped. Okay. So now let's say I wanted to do the second floor. And I could simply, see, that won't work unless I change the axes, which is a pain. So let's do it another way. I'm outside the group. I'll just do around the edges, and this will create a new piece of geometry, and that geometry is not in the other geometry, so it doesn't interact. So what I'm going to do with this is pull it out a foot, right? So this is my second floor, and I'm going to make sure it's exactly a foot. Oops. And I'm going to triple click it, so I select it all and group it. Right, so it doesn't interact with other geometry. And now if I want to hide it, I can get right back to working in here. And I can hide it. I'm doing Command E to hide it and Command Shift E to bring it back. So I could start over again. Let's say that I had a sense of what my floor plan is on this surface. I could go and start doing my walls again, but why? That would be silly because I've already got a bunch of walls here. So, so what I'm going to do is copy one in each dimension. I can actually copy all of these, right? Because I need outside walls for everything. Copy those, close this, put my floor back and do edit, paste. And now what I can do is paste my second floor right there and start building my floor plan using walls for the second floor. Right? And this is just the same way I did it on the first floor, just arrange these however I want. Right? And then that's good. Now, I'm not worried about windows at this point because I can add windows later, and I'll show you how to do that. So now let's put in, let's do the simple roof on this. Again, I'm going around. I'm outside of any of the groups now, so this This is a new group. Again, I'll push that up a foot. And so that's the, excuse me, my attic floor. I guess that's one way to look at it. Now let's put a roof on this very quickly. So here's, that little blue dot means that SketchUp has found the midpoint in a line segment. So from that midpoint I can go straight up. Notice the line is blue, that tells me I'm going straight up. There's ways to constrain lines, so if I held down the up arrow key while I was doing this, it would force it to stay in the blue dimension. Let's do that again. Well, I was going to say do it again, but we could also... no, I'm not going to do it again. Could, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to eyeball what I want my roof slope to be. I'm going to go from here to here, and then from here to here. Erase that, and just hold down the Option key so it makes a copy of this surface when I push, and go right to there. Flip that color, right-click on it, and do reverse faces. So it's white. And I've got a very simple house model here, which is very easy to modify. That's the key point of this. Not that you couldn't have done a similar shape much more easily without going through these steps, but this model is very easy to change, right? So if I want to, what I didn't group everything on that second floor. So let's go back and do that. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to draw a marquee around like I just did, so that I hit all of the geometry on that floor. Plus I want this piece falls within the marquee. So I've selected everything that I want in that second floor, and I'm going to group it. Cool. So I can now hide that and get right down to here if I want to work down here, making modifications, or I can just bring them all back. Yeah, bring them all back. Now you could actually, once you've done this, you can put these in layers. So I could select this, create a roof layer here, and so entity info, and we'll put that in the roof layer. And now, if I hide the roof layer, that roof layer will be hidden. I could do the same thing here, create a new layer, second floor, and I will put that geometry, the selected geometry, into that layer. And now I can hide that. And I could create a first floor layer. And put that geometry into the first floor layer. So once I've done that, I can then very easily hide and show those different layers so that I can work on just the part of the model that I want to. So in this case, I want to add some windows here. What I'll do is open up, double-click to open up the group that's the whole floor, then double-click to open up that. Let's say I want all my windows, or most of my windows, to be say for argument's sake 3 feet above that point. So I enter 3 feet. And now I can base that, when I draw my windows, I can use that line, right? So we're going to draw a window here and push it through. Now, if you see where it stops, right, sometimes it's clear, but sometimes you don't get it exactly. So unless you get it exactly the right distance, what I like to do, so that it punches completely through the wall, I like to just go enter the amount here. And then I know it's exactly right. So that actually punched right through the wall. You can see that person in there. Okay. Now I could keep doing that, or here's a nice trick. You could select all that geometry that makes up that window, hold down the Option key, or choose the Move tool, hold down the Option key for a copy, and just drag off a copy of that geometry. You will have to, when you do this, curious, isn't that? Let's try that again. Oops. Oh, that was odd. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Let's make sure I get all that geometry. I have missed a bit. Maybe not though. Yeah, I just missed something. Probably one of those back lines when I selected. And so I could, do that again. And move along. Now here's another little SketchUp trick. Having made that, I could say I needed 3 more. I could say enter 3x here, and it would immediately make 3 more copied over the same distance as the first one. Let's do that with a variation, which I think is more useful. So say I want 5 windows evenly spaced between here and here. Instead of doing 5x, I can do 5 /, and it will evenly space the windows in between the two. The number of windows you specified, it will space them. In between, from where you drag the first one to over to where you drag the last one to, and the last one counts as one of the windows. So those are just some quick steps to put windows in, and be aware that these are easily modifiable. Let's erase that line. There's that line. No. Just want that line. Oh, right, have to go in here. That line was actually in this wall group, so that's where I had to, that measuring line, that's where I had to be when I deleted it. So this is where I want to be anyway. So I can change any of these windows. Oops. Right. Maybe this one should be a door. Come right down to there. Oops, not a good place for a door. Let's redo that. Not even a good place for a window. Let's get rid of that window. It's going right into that interior wall. So we'll go right up to there, and that window's gone. Let's put our door here. Excellent. Okay. So again, very easy to come back and modify later. That is not working the way I would expect it to work. Oh, I think what happened is I created some new geometry when I was playing around here with pushing that through. I think that's what happened. I lost track where that happened. But you can always Command Z out to get back to where you want to be. And make sure it's cleaned up and the way you want to be before you move on. Ooh, so that's not good. So let's come in and see if I can fix that. Oh, I love it when SketchUp does this. That is not working the way I want it to. No, that's terrible. So I'm going to Command Z all the way back to where this was right. Guess it was okay. Let's start over. Good practice. Do it again. So we're going to make this window, push it through. I'll do exactly 1 foot. There. There. The window's the way I want it. So I'm going to make a copy of it. Select it all, sorry. Choose the Move tool, Option tool. And again, it didn't. Again, I must not have selected all of that geometry. Let's make sure I get it. Option. This is just SketchUp weirdness. So if I do that, I do exactly 1 foot. I've got it. Let's try that one more time. If this copy thing is giving you problems, SketchUp sometimes just does things that you can't quite understand. There's usually a reason for it. There's usually something that you've missed. But so let's see if we move that down, what happens. Option. No, it is not happy doing that, moving the window at this point. All right, so let me show you another. This is good, because there's always more than one way to do it. Another way to do it would be this. And draw your window, select it. Don't punch it through yet. Just move it. Oops. Make copies of it. Then punch each of them through. 12 inches. Notice the double click here. That's it remembers the last amount that was push-pulled, so since those are all 12 inches, those will punch right through. So I think you get the idea. Both, it was perhaps useful showing that sometimes SketchUp gets a little funky, or seems to get a little funky, and you just need to work through that. Remember, Command Z is your friend, or if it's not working one way, try it another way. Let's put everything back here. We'll put the roof back. We'll put the second floor back. And so that's one approach that I think is useful to doing architectural modeling in SketchUp. Thanks.